Proverbs 22:6 says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. And that's Proverbs 22:6. And why I use that as my starting point today is because what I really want us to kind of think about is that fact of train up. My first point is going to be community. But when you think about train up a child, there's a part that we have to play. And part of that training up is discernment. To be able to actually find out what are the strengths and weaknesses of those kids who are around us. Every day we have the potential to touch a life of a child. And the key is, are we wanting that child to grow up how we want? Do we want that child to grow up because I didn't get to do this, so you're going to do what I didn't finish? Or do we want the child to grow up because we're actually taking the time to see what is already in them and to strengthen that so that they can be better people as far as when we think about it there. But community is a group of people having common interests, sharing, participating, and fellowship. And as I go through this, I'm going to read different parts of Kings because I believe it goes with this. In his famous speech, I Have a Dream, Dr. King says, and so we've come to cash this check. Yes, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice. Now is the time. Can somebody say now is the time? Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time to make justice a reality. And here's the key, for all God's children. And we've got to make sure that as we continue to think about community, I'm going to give some examples from my child is the best way I can do it. Some of you are going to know some of the people, one of the persons I mentioned. I remember going outside and playing, and I could go to Miss Walls' house right next to me, and I could go in and get a drink of water after playing. She is no kin to me, and her grandkids didn't even live with her. So sometimes, you had those Christmases and you'd all play in the backyard or play on the street. You throw the football and you say tag, or you guys say timeout, and everybody would walk to the side, let the car go by, and then you come back. Those were the days of community. There were days where our churches would go and visit nursing homes and sing to people. And some of those people never ever got a visit from anybody because their family didn't come visit. Maybe they were from somewhere else, but it was community. Where are the days where we can get back to community? Caring about not just my children. Now I can correct somebody's child. Why are you correcting my child? Don't talk to my child. I'll take care of that. When I grew up, there was this thing called a village concept. You didn't make it without the village. And that's where we've got to get back to. We've got to get back to a true community. How many people have ever gone to their neighbor in the last year and borrowed something? Raise your hand if you've actually went to your neighbor in the last year and borrowed something. Okay, now let me go back. Who 15, 20 years ago went to your neighbors and borrowed something? Now y'all see the different disparity. Where is it at? Now we can't, my wife talked about me when I went across, because I love pancakes. And I was so mad, I put milk in, now I do the blueberry jiffy pancakes. If anybody know it, I'm telling you, that's the real deal. But I didn't have any eggs. You can't make it without no eggs. So I walked over, knocked on the neighbor's door and said, excuse me, you got a couple eggs I can borrow? And guess what they said? Yes, I do. Now the problem is, some of us will feel funny about walking over there because we don't communicate with our neighbors anymore. But I see my neighbors, so I've had to go ask for some milk. I've had to go ask for some eggs. When can we get back to a place where we can have that kind of community? It's going to take love and time. Dr. King said, in the process of gaining rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. My Lord, no, no, no. We must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. 1 John 4:8 and a couple other verses says, but anyone who does not love does not know God, for God is love. If someone says, I love God, but hates a fellow believer, that person is a liar. For if we don't love people we can see, how can we love God whom we cannot see? And he has given us this command, those who love God must love their fellow believers. We got to love our neighbors. We got to love these kids. You look at people who join gangs and do these things, Well, it's a wrong love, but guess what? In their minds, they feel like these people really care for me. They got my back. Where's the community who's going to take the time, and it takes time, to love a child? To just love one. Because if you can love one, it's got a ripple effect to change somebody else. This was a quote I found. Show me your calendar and your checkbook, and I'll show you what's really important in your life. Show me your calendar and your checkbook, and I'll show you what's really important in your life. And so we've got to start looking to say, we can keep talking about our kids, we can keep talking about our community. I'm a high school counselor, don't hold it against me, at New Albany High School. As she said, I did live in Jeff all my life though. But I see it every day, from A to Z. And the funny thing is, the toughest kids are the ones that I get along with the best. But I'll tell you this much, if you love that kid, let some kid at my school try to talk about me. I'm trying to keep them from fighting some other kid. Like, Mr. Campbell can handle that. Mr. Campbell don't have a low self-esteem. But man, you get those kids loving, and I'm telling you, they'll have your back all day long. It's faith. Can somebody say, we got to come together? Dr. King said, with this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together. Together, we can let freedom reign. And the key is faith. Even if that's not your faith, but what kind of faith can you have that can continue to help us to go after that one life, that can help us continue to build our community? Because the key is, we are the community. And we can see it every day. We can sit at our dinner tables and talk about it every day. But until somebody comes out and mentors that kid, until somebody comes out and gets somebody from big brother, big sister, until we go and say, hey, I'm going to lay my hands on this child, and by the time 2020 comes, this child's going to be better. That's the faith. And if we don't have that faith, we're going to continue to see the same things happen and happen and happen. Psalm 133:1 says, behold how good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell in unity. If we are going to reclaim our communities, it will happen. It will not happen without faith. We have focused too much on the problem and not enough on the solution. And in the midst of trying to fix the problem and fight, we have forgot about putting our words into action. We have forgot about putting our hands on young people and loving them. This is a kid, there is a kid, a young adult, a person that God has put in your space for you to mentor, for you to be a role model. Stop looking to everyone else and believe in the gifts God has put in you for you to change that kid's life.